The aim of this vidcast is to explain how to prepare the literature section. The vidcast gives some suggestions of how to apply and write the information that is required in the literature review. The vidcast is divided into two chapters. Chapter 1 explains how to apply critical and reflective reading, and Chapter 2 gives some suggestions on how to bring your ideas into the literature section. This diagram suggests a process that you could adopt when following through the planning and implementation process for preparing and writing the literature review. Firstly, you may want to consider the title of your piece of work. What is the purpose of your overall dissertation or extended literature review? Is it to explain? Is it to evaluate? Is it to compare? You need to consider the preparation of the topic outline. You may want to design your contents page. If you design your contents page, which has the different chapters in this section, this gives you an idea of how the literature review looks in its entirety. Always word process your material and use a sans serif font. Ideally, use font serif size 12 and double space. This means this is easier for you to review and edit your work. Think about giving your work to a non-expert to review. Do they understand what you are trying to explain? Always check through your module handbook guidelines. The literature section is a very important section of your work. This acknowledges the pre-existing work that has been written by other specialists and indicates the origin for your own ideas. You should briefly explain the approach that has been taken in carrying out your research. You should explain to the reader whether this was primary and/or secondary research. Some lecturers will also ask that you give information as to how you carried out the research. For example, how many hits did your terms indicate from the databases? Did you use specialist databases such as Emerald or Web of Science? Were there specific journals used? What were the criteria that you put in to those specialist databases? Did you consider the time period? Did you allocate particular criteria such as countries or subject terms? Furthermore, it is useful for the reader to know whether the information concerned a specific certain time frame or a specific client group. Why did you decide to do this? Do not just explain what your process is, justify the approach that you have taken. By justifying this means that you are not merely writing a description, you are also considering the writer's views and explaining where the evidence is to support these views and/or results. This is the front page of the library and clearly shows you where the subject guides are. This is a useful link to the research support that is available on the library website. When you are referring to the library subject guides, consider the following in the articles. Review the title, the abstract, the background or context, the discussion's logic and supporting evidence. Consider the key findings and ideas. Evaluate the strengths and weaknesses in the discussion. Compare the article to related studies. interpret and comment on ideas, information presented. Apply this and show how relevant the subject matter is to your literature review. And finally, ensure that you relate all of this in your own words. If you have issues in finding material, then why not make an appointment with your subject librarian? You can contact them by emailing them on the library website. This is a self-assessment of your skills when abstracting information for finding literature. If you feel that you need any help in any of these areas, then why not contact either the academic link librarian or make an appointment with the Learning Development Centre. Details are given at the end of this vidcast. These give examples and suggestions of different ways to read printed documents. These are examples of skimming and scanning, questioning and record, and finally reviewing. It is very important that you ensure that all the details you have noted down are correct. Why not take your notes down in different colours? You may wish to use the handouts on GCU Learn to further assist. One is called How to Take Notes and the other is called Reviewing a Research Article. It is important that you summarise the main points. Remember, you are representing the writer's thoughts, so you must ensure that this is carried out accurately and that you have referenced clearly the sources of your information. Please note that your reader will not be as familiar with your work as you are, so ensure that the content can be clearly understood by the reader. This also emphasises the importance of checking over your notes. Have you accurately represented the original sources? The most important aspect is that your literature review should be relevant to your project. Your work's origins originate in someone else's work. Where are the links? Why is this information in the literature review relevant to your project? Do not just repeat the main findings or theories. When you do this, this is descriptive writing. You must justify and support with evidence from the literature why this information is relevant to your own project. Remember, before you read the literature, to have a series of questions. If you cannot think of any precise ones, perhaps the general ones that this example suggests will help. Your reader will judge the relevance of your comments on the supporting evidence from your literature review. It is important that you do not just include authors' names in your literature review without any explanation of why you have included these authors. This can appear to the reader that you have not fully read the text. Remember, your reader is knowledgeable about your work, and that is your assessor. Ensure that you do not misrepresent the authors. It is easy to note down information incorrectly, such as the authors' names, and most importantly, the fact that you are noting down may be from a secondary citation. This means that the article you are reading is noting work from another author. Always check over the information before you finally submit the material. There is an automatic referencing system available in the university called RefWorks. This data program actually carries out the referencing for you. However, please note you must understand the protocols of referencing before you use this database. In addition, ensure that you refer to the research methods in your literature. Ensure that you refer to the research aims, the findings and conclusions. Note the research methods that have been used. Discuss the merits and limitations of the research tools in the article. Consider the sampling methodology. How have they analysed the data? Most importantly, compare and contrast findings from similar research. And consider the aspects of reliability, validity, transferability of findings, and the implication and application of findings. Critically analyse these by discussing how findings may be affected by the research methods. Compare the literature to other research studies by identifying similarities and differences. Discuss generalizability, the reliability of the conclusions, and the validity of the conclusions. Outline these recommendations and comment on their implications. Please do not just use references to try and impress your reader. In other words, do not litter your writing with several authors' names. If you do this, your reader will wonder whether indeed you have read these pieces of work. Very importantly, do not misinterpret authors' findings to support your own ideas. This is abusing references. When you are using references, this is to express your own thoughts. Please ensure that you check your academic school guidelines on applying references. If possible, use RefWorks and check the university's guidelines on plagiarism. This is a screenshot showing the referencing guidelines on the library web pages. Very clear information is given on this website. Any references used in the text should be noted alphabetically in the reference list if you are using the Harvard system. Any references considering background reading and that are not mentioned in the text should be placed in a separate list called the Bibliography. If you wish more information about any aspect of academic writing or would like to discuss your coursework, please contact the Learning Development Centre in room M534. This is on the 5th floor of the George Moore building. You can also make an appointment by emailing askldc@gcu.ac.uk or by phoning 0141 273 1230. If there is no one available to answer the phone, please leave your name and contact details and someone will get back to you as soon as possible. Alternatively, you are welcome to pop in to the Learning Development Centre, which is in room M534.